started a series, an indefinite amount of lessons on the mystery of prayer. And if you weren't here last week, I'll do a bit of a recap, and I always do so that it sort of sinks in. As I said, it's a story that we are trying to form and shape. Why the mystery of prayer, not just prayer? One, it sounds more mysterious. But prayer is much more of an art than what it is a science. And I don't know about you, but I certainly can't predict how it will behave, or what it will do, or even I figured out a week or two ago that in January this year I would be a Christian for 30 years. Lisa, I think, is the 19th of November. That's around the corner. I don't even know what the date is today. What is 13th? So 6 days from now, she'd be 30 years. And even after 30 years, I'm not sure how to navigate it. Meaning that there are good days, there are bad days, there are, as I said before, moments of ecstasy, and I feel I'm with Moses there on the mountain receiving the tablets. Yes, Lord. But those are few and far between, and still wrestle with basic questions, as we've looked at before, that, sure, this clicker and us just don't want to work together. Basic questions. Is God listening? Okay, when I pray, is he listening? Does he even want to listen? I'm not saying that I'm praying there passionately and he doesn't want to listen. Sometimes maybe the quality of my prayers is not maybe what it could be or should be. And I ask myself the question, is God listening? Let me draw this a little bit closer. For some reason, we have tried so many things to make this gadget work. But for some reason, there we go. It doesn't always work. Why should God care about me and what I have to say when there's, even just in this room, over 200 people, let alone in the world, 7 billion people? If I say my prayer this morning, will he hear me? If God knows everything, then what's the point of prayer? I mean, I'm saying, God, I need your help here in delivering the message today. He knew that. Okay? He most probably knows how much more I need it than what I myself know, how much I need it, and how much you need his guidance in helping you take something from it. Why does God, why do answers to my prayers sometimes seem inconsistent or fickle? Why are there moments or seasons in my life where it seems like he's really listening and he's answering and he's working with me, and other times, obviously, it feels like he doesn't? Does a person with many praying friends stand a better chance of healing or anything else? I mean, I would sometimes go through seasons where people would say to me, or I would to them, I'm praying for you. Someone says, now sometimes they just say it. We know the guilty parties. Oh, you don't know what it says, so I'll keep you in my prayers. Okay, that's the mystery of prayer, because your prayer never hears it. But have you ever wondered about that? So if just Devet prays for me and just him, the prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective, Devet. We hope for the best. Or as I enlarge that number, does it make a difference? Why does God sometimes seem close and other times he seems further away? And then questions like, can you guys resonate with this? Have you ever had these kind of questions? Reinhard says he doesn't. It's a mystery to him. Is prayer supposed to go? I've had these where I pray and eventually I think, is he going to change? Is God going to change, or is it me? And is he actually saying that the reason I'm quiet is you need to change? Yet, although we do not always understand how prayer works, or often feel like it is not necessarily answered or as engaging as I would want it to be, the desire remains. I want to pray. Thomas Merton, the Trappist, a monk, scholar, and theologian, described it this way. He says, prayer is an expression of who we are, and I can resonate so much with this. We are a living incompleteness. We are a gap, an emptiness that calls for fulfillment. And so even though we are wrestling through our prayer life and how to pray and is God listening, is He not, there is that emptiness that calls for fulfillment. For, as Ecclesiastes says, God has set eternity in the hearts of men. And in prayer, in that gap, we break the silence as we try to bridge the gap between ourselves and eternity. We also looked at a number of great prayer warriors. We just touched on them. The likes of, in the scriptures, Jacob, Moses, Hannah, Mary, Daniel, Elijah. And then, obviously, after the scriptures, people like Augustine, Susanna Wesley, Jonathan Edwards, Martin Luther. And I mean, some of these guys, they would pray 4 hours a morning. And I just, in all honesty, get tired even just thinking about that. 4 hours. Okay, that's a lot of praying and a lot to be said. And you get these great heroes, and then it feels like they're next to these great prayer warriors. Often it feels like, and there we are, a mere mortal human beings. Maybe more accurate description would be, there we are. Okay, trying to navigate our way around this. And we know, without a doubt, through life, that prayer is significant. It is absolutely essential, not only for our spiritual survival, but just for survival. So we feel that on the one side, but then on the other side, without a doubt, often we experience prayer more of a burden than a pleasure, something that I have to do if I call myself a Christian. And so I go back to the drawing board tomorrow morning saying my prayers. And so we ask the question, why is it that on surveys that prayer rates so high on a level of importance? We all know it's important, but if we are downright honest, and we ask in this room even today, we say, how many of us feel fully satisfied with our prayer life? Where we feel like, man, sure, I have ups and downs like every other mortal being, but I feel so satisfied. There is a discrepancy. That in theory, again, we know prayer is a priceless point of contact between us and the divine, between Yahweh, but then also it can feel like a spasm of words lost in a cosmic indifference. How do we bridge this gap? Is there a way that we can up this satisfaction? We know the importance. Is there a way where we can make them, where we can bridge the gap, and we know it's important, but is there something from my side that will help the engagement? And obviously, we are here together today because we believe that there is. And that's what we want to talk about today. And so one of the ways is by developing an appropriate posture in prayer. And I'm not talking about how you sit. I'm talking about the posture of your heart. Is there a possibility that if I change my view of reality, of myself, of God, that it will increase the enjoyment, the satisfaction, and the engagement that I get in prayer? And to figure this out, we want to take a look at two views. One is, we could call it a clear view from above. I don't know how many of us have ever climbed a mountain, something as basic as Lion's Head. Lion's Head is actually called a mountain. I Googled it. Okay, who of us have done Lion's Head? Okay. I thought I'm going to say it, and people are going to say it's not a mountain, it's a hill. Okay. And it looks big there. A couple of years ago, I feel like we're conquering the world there. Felt so proud. Myself, the girls, Alistair, and Matt and Caleb, we climbed, walked, whatever you want to call it, Lion's Head. Then there's obviously a little bit bigger, We can do Table Mountain. Who of us have done Table Mountain? Again, most proppy, most Cape Townians. I don't have a photo of that because that happened too long ago. But there were photos historically. And then there's obviously even bigger ones, Kilimanjaro. Has anyone ever done Kilimanjaro, Mount Kilimanjaro in here? And you can put up your hand. Don't be shy now. Don't be shy. Who of us would like to do Kilimanjaro? I mean, that should be epic, eh? Okay. Now, it can be, is everyone discussing Kilimanjaro? It can be daunting standing at the bottom of the mountain looking up. I've done Paddleclip Gorge many times in my life, and you stand at the bottom there, and you look up, and if you've done it before, you know what's coming. It's like stairs forever, okay? And you think, sure, do I have it in me? Now, if you fit, you're good. Otherwise, it can be brutal. It can look brutal. And you usually get a mixed bag of expressions of people coming down. Some people are like, oh, man, amen, that was awesome. Other people look like death, okay? I think I've even seen some cry. Getting to the top, though, even if it's something as small as Signal Hill that you can just drive up on, gives you a whole different perspective. No, it's literally, I just changed the person. It's not edited in. It's literally not edited in. It's, we tick shots right after each other. But you get a different perspective being on a Signal Hill, a Lion's Head, a Table Mountain, looking down. You see hundreds, if not thousands, of homes. Cars, let me put some light on. Cars, you can barely recognize. Every time I'm on top of a Lion's Head or a Table Mountain, I look down at the vast array of homes. I mean, there are hundreds, the photo only captures that much, thousands of homes, or the little cars driving along the road, that now suddenly looks so small in comparison to the mountain that I'm standing on. And what feels big to them, I'm always thinking, there's a guy in a car, he's driving, he most probably has problems. But from here, his problems look very small to me. I cannot even see it. He's almost insignificant. I can stand there then often, or rather, I stand there often, and I contemplate, is that me? Am I the little dot in the car or in the house? Because I look at the house and I think there must be 3, 4, 5 people in that house. Is that me? At the top of the mountain, you feel appropriately small, almost insignificant, and you get a tiny fractional glimpse of what God must see all the time. James, again, the brother of Jesus, not Lapperman, says, what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while, and then I know we've seen it so many times, but yet I cannot help doing it. Acts, 48 hours non-stop fresh. Don't split in my eye, okay? That is scary. That was my life. Some of us live a little bit longer. Literally, you go to a funeral, and I've shared this as well before, you go to a funeral and you think it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. White people, 30 minutes. Colored people, 2, 2.5. African people? There you're celebrated. A whole day affair. But even the whole day affair, I think, sure, there's a life. There was a life. That was it. It's a mist that appears. If you're anything like me, you live in the daily hope of getting your life under control somehow. Every day I go through this. You have a to-do list of some sorts, okay, either mentally or on paper, and ask these questions, things I need to do for my spiritual life. Every day I think, okay, my spiritual life. Okay, I want to obviously have my spiritual life in control. My time of prayer, my time of Bible study, time of reflection. Then there are, a couple of years ago, again, I realized I'm getting older. I need to get physically in shape. So I need to put that in the schedule. Am I getting enough cardio? Am I getting enough sort of just building muscle, strength, what have you? Then there is mental health. That's a big thing these days, okay? Emotional health. Is all of that in check? And then there is your husband or your wife. Are they okay? I thought about that yesterday. I wonder if they are okay. I hope they're okay. I'm going to have to make sure from my side that they're okay. Whoops, it's the next day. My spouse, are they okay? I hope they're okay. I want to be helpful. Then there are the kids. I mean, I pray through the kids, and that takes the whole prayer time because there are 3 of them. So by the time I'm through the kids and my wife, there's nothing left. We've not even started on life. Then there's life. Bills that need to be paid. Things that need to be figured out. Maintenance that needs to be done. Then you get to work. And work needs to be done. Now for the teens, the list might look a little bit different. For teens, for campus students, there's homework. I'm not sure. Do campus students call it homework? What do you call the stuff that you need to take home? Homework? Assignments. Yeah, campus students don't get homework. They get assignments, okay? Look at that, I was prophetic. Yes, Lord. Tests. Okay, so I've got homework, I've got assignments, I've got tests coming up. Friendships I need to maintain. Who is friends, who's not? Did they give me the evil eye? Was it my imagination that it was the evil eye? Did I read that WhatsApp message correctly? What was the tone of it? The burden of TikTok. Now, this is something that adults will not understand, but there is a huge burden with TikTok. It's not real for us, but it's real for you guys. Are people following me? Are they not following me? Did I lose followers? Was my post good enough? Did I get enough likes? And then I still have Instagram as well, okay? And then the strain of what photos will I post? Okay, again, the adults, I'm not sure if we're going to have enough time to talk about all this, but it's a different world for the teenagers. For people my age, maybe even a little bit younger, we took photos so we would have a memory. Teenagers take photos so they can share a memory. They can share an experience. It's not to keep it. So if you cannot share it, there's actually no purpose of having the photo. Now think of that. If you have to monitor your life like that all day, that is intense. Okay, I'm not sure if I made this comment before publicly, that research, and this is for the United States, and we're not that far behind, I believe, but says that the average teenager, research shows that the average teenager today has the same level of anxiety than psychiatric patients in the 1950s. The average teenager has the same level of anxiety with all these connections than what psychiatric patients had in the 1950s. So there's a lot going on, and it feels very overwhelming. Yet as big as all of those things might feel for a teen or for an adult in the moment, they are quickly placed in perspective when the doctor tells you you have cancer. You get a phone call that says, there was a car accident. They didn't make it. A phone call that says, come to the hospital quickly. They have but a few hours left. Everything changes because everything is now placed in perspective and we get in touch with reality. Yes, as the psalmist said in Psalm 139, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, we are the people of God. We are His treasured possession as His children. Yes, as someone shared recently, we are His masterpiece, His workmanship. But we are not in control of our lives. And we're not in control of the lives around us. And we're certainly not in control of the universe that we are a part of. We have influence in our lives and influence in the lives of others and their destinies, but control, no. James says you are a mist that appears. Yes, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, but yes, as well, you are a mist that appears. Instead of maybe being so loud, proud, and entitled in our prayer lives, maybe we should say with the psalmist, show me, Lord, my life's end and the number of my days. Let me know how fleeting my life is. When we can see the brevity and the fragility of our lives, it will greatly influence our posture in prayer. It will greatly influence how I approach this time with God, wherever it is, whether it is that I'm doing an opening prayer here, praying in my car, praying in my room, praying in my bed. But I will sit there and I'll realize, sure, I am but a mist. And this mist is now approaching sacred space where I get to connect with the divine. So one is we need to have a view from the top to help us gain perspective and get the right posture. And then also we need to have a clear view from below. This is the astronomical, whoops, that thing just jumped. Let's jump back. This is the astronomical observatory. Who wants to guess where that is? And it's observatory. Okay, so today you can say you learned something in church. If you want to know where the name observatory comes from, it's because of the astronomical observatory and observatory. So if we look to the top, what do we obviously see? We see stars. Now, again, I know we've seen so many videos of these things, whatever, so I'll just touch on it, but it does not change the reality. Okay, so you look up, and there's obviously millions and billions of stars, and I try to do some research here on how to explain the universe in simple terms. And there is no way to explain the universe in simple terms. So I'll just throw some things at you. Okay, that is Earth. We live on there. It's round. For those that still thought it was flat. It looks big. Okay, now we looked at the photos from Signal Hill saying, oh, there's little me. Now, where am I here? Where am I? I'm over here. Now, that's the sun, and more or less scale. Sun is a star. I can't remember which one of these balls are Earth. I think that one. Was it this one? Okay. But that's Earth. So in scale here, if we look up, we see stars, of which this is one. And if we were at that star, we were to look back, and we're right up it, so we're hot. We're right next to it, and we look back, that's what we're going to see. Now, as huge as the sun is, obviously if you put it in the solar system, now that's the sun, and that's the solar system that we are a part of. But then the solar system, if you place that and the galaxy, the Milky Way, that we are a part of, then that galaxy is somewhere a dot in year. The solar system is a dot in year in the galaxy. As a matter of fact, the way that someone explained it was that if the Milky Way is the size of Africa, the continent of Africa, on scale, then the solar system will fit into this cup. So Africa, cup. You. The Milky Way doesn't stand still, it actually travels. And it travels, these are numbers that we don't understand. It travels at 2.1 million kilometers per hour. This is moving. So that I don't even know how to do it. Earth and the cup, you on Earth, in the Milky Way are traveling, you don't feel it, but this whole lot is traveling at 2.1 million kilometers per hour. But then that's obviously the Milky Way. Then we get to the universe. And so now the Milky Way is but a dot in the scale of the universe. We should look at the splendor of the universe, and we should say with the psalmist, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? The psalmist is looking up into the heavens. He's obviously not seeing the whole universe, but he's looking up into the heavens, and this is what comes to mind from when I consider what I see, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars which you have set in place. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? He's looking at the creation and he is saying, God, I look at this creation, I look at how absolutely spectacular you are, and I ask myself, why do you even listen to me? An excellent question. As well as a reminder of the point of view that we easily forget. As mere humans, yes, we are made in the image of God. Yes, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. But we are but a speck of dust scattered across the earth. And the earth is but a speck of dust in the solar system. And the solar system is but a speck of dust in the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is but a speck of dust in the universe. And at the heart of all of this reality is God. An unimaginable source of power, love, justice, beauty, majesty, and splendor is at the heart of everything. And in the face of such reality, we can either grovel in feelings of insignificance and feel sorry for ourselves, or look up instead of inward and say with the psalmist, O Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. See, to explore the mystery of prayer and the posture we should take in it, we need to begin here. We need to begin from the view from above. As I look down and I look there's little me in the little car driving around. But we also need to look from below and we need to look up. Each provides a mere sliver of a glimpse of reality as God must see it. And prayer, when we enter it, whenever we enter it, is like a flash of lightning. In a nanosecond, it exposes what we should usually prefer to ignore, my own state of fragile dependence on God. The author of Hebrews puts it this way, speaking of Jesus, he says, the Son is the radiance of God's glory, the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by the power of his word. All things. Gravity, planets orbiting, the breath of life, all things. The Son, Jesus, sustains all things by the power of his word. If he says it's done, then it's done. If he says it continues, it continues. By a spoken word. My to-do list, my family challenges, my concerns about my social media accounts and friendships, my concerns about the future, my relationships, my concerns about work demands, and my financial woes, all need to be brought into the larger reality of all things in order to get a proper perspective. I need to take me and my issues. Can you see the little guy there? Sorry. I thought you wouldn't. That's me and my issues. I need to take me and my issues. Akira said, I did this myself. He's walking. And I need to bring it into God's reality. All my concerns, all my things. Prayer helps us correct our impaired vision, calling to mind the perspective we daily forget. We keep reversing roles, thinking of ways in which God should serve us. Take away my anxiety, Lord. Help me find a better job. Pay my bills. Help me find a boyfriend. Help me find a better boyfriend. Help me find a girlfriend. Help me find a spouse. Work on this spouse. Help me have kids. Help me make friends. Help me find purpose. Help me with everything that I'm going through. The list is endless. And it is all about me. What can the creator and the sustainer of the universe, of all galaxies, do in service of me, instead of the other way around? When Job confronted God on his apparent lack of interest in Job's circumstances, God reminded him that life is actually not all about him. He said, where were you? I wouldn't want to sit in that seat, but it's saying it to us today. Imagine he's now speaking to you. Where were you when I laid... Okay, so reverse. Why, Lord, why? Why aren't you answering my prayers? I've been asking this for so long, so many times, so many days, weeks, months, years. Why, Lord, why? What kind of God are you not answering my prayer? Where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garments and wrapped it in thick darkness? When I fixed the limits for it and set its doors and bars in place? When I said, this far you may come and no further, here is where your proud waves halt. In the midst of our self-pity, it might do us well even for just a moment to contemplate God's point of view. Prayer, when we enter it, has the ability to raise our sights beyond the petty, or as in Job's case, even dire circumstances of daily life, to afford a glimpse of that lofty reality. In prayer, though I am important to God and I am His son and His daughter, I realize my tininess and I realize God's vastness and the true relation between the two. If I open my eyes to see God for all that He is, I will in His presence feel small. Why? Because I am small. When Job called God to account for his seeming lack of interest in Job's circumstances, God replied and said, who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? In other words, Job, you have no idea. You have but a fractional glimpse of reality, whereas I see and navigate it all. There was a movie years ago, and I think there were dodgy scenes in it, so don't watch it, I think. Bruce Almighty. Bruce becomes God, man-God, on earth for X amount of time. And he needs to answer everybody's prayers. Everyone's praying to me. You hear all these voices. Pray, 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 pray. I want to say, who saw it? But now you're going to feel judged. Who saw Bruce Almighty? Someone just told me about Bruce Almighty. Okay. So he's answering all these prayers, and then obviously people pray, let me win the lotto. But it's difficult for him to answer all these prayers and to navigate it all. So he just says, yes to all. Okay? So everyone won the lotto, and every lotto winner got like $1. We see but a glimpse. That makes sense to us. God sees it all. After God's speech to Job, Job crumbled, saying, surely I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know. In other words, I was so focused on my interpretation of my circumstances that I lost touch with reality. Job, as you read the book, did not receive a single answer to his probing questions, a fact that no longer seemed to matter to him. Kicking and screaming, I'm still learning that lesson of Job today. God needs no reminding of the nature of reality and where everything goes, but I do. Every day, my vision is obscured from the reality that our God is the God who is. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. He is the creator and the sustainer of all things. He is the one who laid the earth's foundations. He is the one who marked off its dimensions. He is the one who shut up the sea behind doors, who fixed limits for it, set its doors in place and says, this far you may come and no further. Here is where your proud waves halt. Every day my vision clouds over so that I perceive nothing other than what is right before me. My to-do list, my concerns. It literally requires a daily act of will to look at our lives and the world from God's point of view. But when we do, when we take on that posture and say, I'm going to take the view from below, I'm going to take the view from above, when we take on that posture and we pray in faith, our words somehow cross a bridge between the visible and the invisible worlds. And the veil gets lifted as we enter the unseen world, as we enter sacred space in prayer, the realm of the Spirit. And as we, in that moment and in that space, come face to face with God, who is the unimaginable source of power, love, justice, beauty, majesty, and splendor of the universe, we will experience intimacy and peace, and we will allow His sovereign and saving rule to transform us from the inside out. Or as Paul said, and we all, who with unveiled face behold the Lord's glory, are being transformed into His image with an ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. And all of this is set into motion by the mystery of what we call